want to welcome Nicolette Nyman to the KWMR airwaves. Nicolette is a candidate for Congressional District 2. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. All right, so I'm going to ask you the questions, and hopefully this will give you the opportunity to share with the listeners of KWMR about your platform for Congress. Nicolette, what is your motivation for running for Congressional District 2? And tell us what experience you will bring to the office.
Okay, well, I actually have been involved in a lot of different kind of service work for my whole life almost. I started serving as a volunteer on campaigns when I was in high school, political campaigns. And then when I was in college, I was very involved in environmental causes and I spent 2 semesters working as an apprentice, intern on Capitol Hill, and have always been involved in a lot of different things. After I went to law school, and then after law school, I ended up running for the City Council of Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is my hometown, which I had moved back to after law school, and spent a lot of years around that time doing work in the community of Kalamazoo, Michigan. And then in recent years, I've lived in Marin now for 23 years, and I've been a youth soccer coach. I've been a Little League coach for three different seasons, and I've been on our school board for Billina Stinson for the last 5 years, and I've been on my church board for the last 19 years. So I do a lot of. None of those things are for pay.
Right.
Those are just all, kind of like, okay, the work needs to get done and somebody's got to do it kind of a thing. And I jump in and I enjoy that. And what I really like about that kind of work is you can see the results. Like you're helping your immediate neighbors, your child, your kids' friends, that are on the team or whatever. And it's just very rewarding. And I was not considering running for Congress, but then I got very involved in what was happening in Point Reyes. And I got more and more discouraged and troubled by the way that was all being handled by our current congressional representative. And so I started thinking that I wanted to support someone to run against Jared Huffman. And then I started thinking about it more. And when I heard that the redistricting would actually add 3 counties that are primarily rural and largely agricultural, that's when I started thinking, well, we really need someone who can represent this entire district and someone who understands the issues and concerns in a place like Marin County, but also can understand the people and the issues in Shasta, Siskiyou, Modoc, Humboldt, etc. And that's when I started thinking about doing it myself. And the more I thought about it, I actually kind of felt like it was what I should be doing at this moment in my life. And so I made the decision to sign up.
You just knew in your gut at that point.
Yes, exactly.
I know that feeling. What areas, Nicolette, of public policy are you personally the most passionate about?
Well, it's kind of hard to narrow it down to, 1 or 2 things, but I would say, of course, I care a lot about education. That is something that I've obviously have 2 children. My parents were both educators. I've been on our school board in Billina Stinson for the last 5 years. I believe that education, especially public education, obviously I care about all kinds of education, but I really believe that having a well-educated citizenry is the foundation of a healthy democracy. And I think our public schools need to be robust so that every child has the opportunity for a good education. So I'm very passionate about that. The federal role in that is not I think it should be primarily local and state determined. So I'm not arguing for a bigger role of the federal government in education, but I do think it has some role, and I'm very interested in that. I'm also very passionate about the need for good health care and affordable health care. It's something that I've seen. I have 2 sisters that are both doctors, actually, and they have talked to me for many years about how broken our healthcare system is. So I feel it's something that we really need to address as a nation. And it's something that my husband and I are, ranchers, and so we pay for our own healthcare insurance. And for our children, it's all out of pocket. And our premium has gone up by something like 40% in just the last few years. So we are personally experiencing how challenging this is for so many people. And just affordability in general, I think especially for people in California, we can all relate to how much more expensive it is today than it was just a few years ago, whether you're talking about groceries, gas, housing, whatever. And again, it's not like Congress can fix this overnight, but there are things that can be done, and I'm definitely concerned about all of those things. In sort of broader strokes, I also am particularly passionate about food and healthy food, the environment, and agriculture and how all that's connected. I think a lot of the problems in our healthcare system actually relate to our agricultural system and how we're producing food that isn't healthy and how we're not making healthy food affordable and accessible to all people. And that's what I've been working really hard on for the last 25 years is food, sustainable food and agriculture and food access and healthy food for all. So those are kind of some of the highlights, I would say.
Well, thank you for that. And this is this redistricting. It's a crazy district, as you mentioned before. What do you think are the major issues that your constituents care about the most?
Well, I think that really depends on where you are. Now, I have not yet had a chance to cover the whole district, but I am going to definitely try to do that before the election, and I'm working on it. I have a trip scheduled just at the end of this week to go to Shasta County and Siskiyou County, and I have already been up to Mendocino. And I also am planning, in the works, I've got a trip to Humboldt and one to Del Norte in the works as well. Still working on trying to get Trinity in there. But it's a sprawling district. The issues are, I've been all over Marin. I didn't mention Marin or Sonoma because I'm there all the time. And I've been there almost every day in the last few weeks. But I think affordability is one of those issues that cuts across every community, regardless of how rural or urban, how red or how blue. But another issue that I think people are really concerned about is partisanship. People are really troubled by how dysfunctional our political system is right now, particularly at this moment. And I have been very involved in politics my whole life, but I never joined a political party, in part because I've always had a lot of reservation about the political parties and sort of having some large group of people telling me what I think about something or how I'm supposed to vote or feel about something. It's not how I work. And so I've never joined a political party. So one of the things I really want to do is try very hard to represent everyone in this district, of every political stripe and of every, demographic. And I believe I could do that because I've already worked for many years all over the country with people in rural communities. And my husband, Bill Nyman, as well, we work with farmers and ranchers all over the place. We don't even know what their political beliefs are for the most part. And many are very conservative, many are very, very liberal, and everything in between. And it doesn't matter to us because we're talking to them about soil and animals and rainfall and things like that. And I know I can work with everyone because I have a very deep respect and appreciation for people, regardless of their political beliefs or where they live or what their income is. So I want to bring that attitude and try to represent the whole district and try to work in Washington as someone who's a bridge between the different political camps. And I would be an independent, and I think that would help me do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. What do you believe are the core responsibilities of someone elected to Congress?
Well, I think, as I was just mentioning, I think representing everyone in the district is really important. No matter which district you're talking about in the country, there's going to be a predominantly, most of the population is going to be either Democrat or Republican or conservative or liberal. But I believe that when we start thinking of ourselves as just representing that constituency, then we get into the problems that we're in today. So I think every member of Congress should strive to represent their entire district and every part of that district and really try to work on a community level for individual communities, trying to understand what their particular issues are and how a member of Congress could help that community to be a healthier, more vital community. We have so many parts of the United States today, especially in rural areas, but not just rural areas by any means, that are really struggling right now in terms of the economy and jobs and the pay that people are receiving. And again, their ability just to pay for basic things like healthcare and food and gas. And I think we really need to kind of roll up our sleeves and start saying, okay, what does this community need to make it possible for people to live here and work here? And how do we bring that vitality back?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And this is a little bit more of a personal question, but who do you look up to, Nicolette, and whose example would you like to follow and why?
I have many people that I admire and that I've known over the years, but I would have to say, and this is 100% true, anybody who knows me knows this is my true answer, not just something I'm saying on the campaign, it would be my parents. They were just such good people. They were such decent, humble, hardworking, just honest people, and they kind of taught all 4 kids in my family every day. I'm getting slightly choked up.
I know when it choked up.
But it's just like they're not alive anymore, you know. So whenever I talk about them, I get slightly misty-eyed. But they were just really good people, and they taught us every day that what you do all day long matters, and to try to be a good person to every person you encounter. Try to treat every animal with kindness. They just loved all animals, and they taught all 4 of us to be like that. And I have really good relationships with all my siblings. We're still very close, and I would just say they're kind of my role models. I try every day to be as good parents as they were, and I don't think I'm living up to it at all, but I'm trying.
All right. And finally, what legacy would you like to leave if you are elected to Congress?
Well, I think some of these things I've just been talking about, to me, what I really believe is important is that we begin trying to treat every person, in our country as a human being, and we respect and recognize their humanity, and we sort of lower the political temperature, and we start talking about, okay, how do we work together to make our country the beautiful country that we all know that it can be. I mean, I'm a person, kind of a worldly citizen. I've lived in a lot of different places. I've lived abroad for 2 years, 1 year in Africa, 1 year in Europe, and I love a lot of different parts of the world and have appreciated my experiences there, but I love the United States the most. I love our diversity here. I love our beautiful landscapes and just all that's offered here in the way everywhere you go, you meet people from all parts of the world, and our culture, our food, the diversity of our food. I just think it's an amazing, wonderful place. And I want all of us to feel good about living in this country again. And I think that begins with each of us trying to be good neighbors and good accepting members of our society that values all voices and isn't engaging in that shrill kind of partisan bickering that we see all the time on social media and on the TV. And I actually encourage people, even though we're on the radio, like don't spend too many hours a day listening to your radio or watching your TV. Work in your own garden and in your own neighborhood and in your own school, and your neighbors and you'll find so much more satisfaction and joy in that. That's certainly been how it's been for me. So I would like my legacy to be someone who helped restore that sense of pride that we can all feel in this country, and just embracing all the people here and working together. And if I leave that legacy, I will feel very good about it.
Well, I thank you very much for taking the time out to talk with me here on KWMR. I'm talking with Nicolette Nyman, who is running for Congressional District 2 here in California, and the primary is coming up in June. So thank you for taking the time to talk to the listeners of KWMR.
Thank you, Amanda. It was my pleasure.